Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Saturday Morning Comic Review. I'm your host, Dylan Wallace. Today, we got a great episode for you guys. It was the main entrance, or kind of the main intro, and it's going to be dropping on Saturday. But this episode, I'll just warn you guys, is going to feel more like an Omega, just because all of the books are backlogs. Didn't get an opportunity to get to the shop before recording this, and then I'm heading out of town next week, so it's going to be kind of a rush job. We got Christmas in the middle as well. So it's like, okay, rather than recording in Omega, calling in Omega, let's just go ahead and record this Saturday's issue well in advance, and it's just going to have the feel and the flavor of an Omega. And then what I'm hoping is I'll pick up the books that dropped on Christmas Eve, and we'll read most of those throughout the week, and then that'll then be the next Saturday's issue, which is on January 3rd. And then we kind of get back to regular after that. So that's kind of the hope right now. It's interesting. I didn't think I was going to be recording this on Christmas Eve, but we wrapped up a lot sooner than I thought we were going to. And then by the time got the boys down to bed, we did all the Santa stuff and all prepped and everything, it was like only 7:30. And I was like, I think I have enough time to record. And I only had one more book to read. So yeah, recording this Wednesday, it'll post on Saturday. So with that all being said, I think we can go ahead, jump in. It's going to be our standard show where we have this week's polls, the review, and we'll talk about next week's polls as well. So without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about those polls for the week. And of course, before we do, we like to start off with what are the picks of the week thus far. So here are the top 5 as, kind of according to League of Comic Geeks. So we have Absolute Wonder Woman, issue number 15, 42% of the vote. So looking forward to that for sure. I kind of figured that would be the first one because A, it's Absolute Universe. B, you have Wonder Woman and Batman on the cover. And then C, just, the series has been pretty incredible. So I had a hunch it was going to be the first one, and I'm glad that that's the case. Obviously, this could fluctuate a lot since it's Wednesday and it is Christmas Eve. Who knows if people got a chance to go ahead and pick up those books, but that's where it stands as of recording. Number 2, Absolute Martian Manhunter, issue number 7. Number 3 is going to be DCKO, The Joker versus Red Hood, number 1. That has 6% of the vote. Absolute Superman, number 14, 5% of the vote. And in 5th place, Green Arrow, 31 with 4% of the vote. So yeah, that is where we're at. Absolute Martian Manhunter had 23%. I think I forgot to say that. And of these books, I have 3 out of the 5 on my pull list. So we'll just kind of wait and see what those are like. And I hope to be picking them up later this week, probably on Friday would be my guess. And so with that, the actual polls for this week, it's actually quite a lot. It's pretty funny because this is the most in a while, though not the most I've ever had, but it is a lot more than what it has been as of recently. And then we get to next week, and next week is like absolutely nothing. So for this week, it's going to be Absolute Martian Manhunter, issue number 7, Absolute Superman, number 14, Absolute Wonder Woman, number 15, Final Boss, number 2, Hornsby and Halo, number 13, Justice League Unlimited, number 14, Red Book, number 3, The Rockefellers, issue number 11, Skinbreaker, number 4, Void Rivals, number 25, and then Voyeur, number 3. So those will be the books. Again, that's all, I guess, going to be saved for either the following issue, and I may end up chopping it up. It may be, 4 or 5, maybe even 6 that we do for this upcoming week, and then, to be posted on the 3rd, and then the rest will be followed up on the Omega sometime around the 6th or the 7th, if I had to guess. So yeah, those are the books. Just need to go ahead and pick them up, but with that, I think we can go ahead and get into our review for the week. So we have 10 books as per usual. I'll go ahead and just read them all off for both the audio folks and then for the video too, if you want to skip around and specifically hear a book and a review that you're interested in. So we'll be reviewing them in this order. We have Kingdom Riders, just kind of a continuation of reading through that book as it's not really broken out into chapters or into issues. Then we have Batman and Robin, issue number 22. That's going to be the last one for Batman and Robin because I did eventually end up dropping it before I actually got caught up. And I was like, dang, I kind of do enjoy this, but it is what it is. Then we have our continuation through Saga, be issue number 39. Then a new one to the show. We Call Them Giants. So It's about the length of like 3-ish books, and I read through the first third. So we'll talk about that a little bit. Do a Powerbomb, issue number 5. The Conclusion to the Nice House on the Lake, issue number 12. Then we have Poison Ivy, issue number 9. Then on to Fables, 152. Helen of Wyndhorn, issue number 6. This will be the conclusion to this one. Phenomenal book. And then Dragon Age. This is Wraiths of Tevinter, and I'm probably a third of the way through the book. So it's probably the length of 6 individual comics. So this would be issue number 2, if you will, and finishes kind of the first act, or the first short story is the way that I think that they have this broken out. So those will be the books in that order. Again, when I have the trades, I just need a quick second to get organized with all these things. We're going to start off with Kingdom Riders. Make sure that we're all settled there. Kingdom Riders. So we are probably one more reading session before we're completed it. So this is like the heart of the book of where we're at right now. It doesn't have a rating on League. If I had to give it a rating thus far, I'd give it a 4. And a brief reminder for folks, if you're brand new to the show, first of all, welcome. Appreciate you guys tuning in. But the way that I do these reviews is I try to catch you up on everything thus far. And then when I'm doing the review, I do spoil the heck out of the book. So just kind of keep that in mind. If you're not into spoilers, it's just not going to be the show for you. But I'll give you my review for League. It's a 5-star scale with, half stars in between. I'll give you League's review, and then towards the end, I'll show off some of the artwork and let you know if this is a good one to jump into. So that's the format, and we'll do that for all 10. So Kingdom Riders, right? I've been just reading through. We're on the back half of the book. We're mostly following our protagonist, Kayla, and we're in this universe where it is a feudal system, right? Kind of a serfdom system. Kayla and her friend, Maul, I think it is, they were trying to buy their freedom. At first, it seemed like Maul was going to be freed. Then one of their oxes died, and they needed to keep Maul around to help pay off the debt. Kayla's like, I'm going to enter this race, and this huge kingdom race. It's like the most important event that happens throughout the year. Kayla's like, I'm going to enter it. I'm going to win it. You bet on me, and it'll pay off for Maul. It'll pay off for myself. If not, all the debt will then come on to me. And so the lord of that kind of plot of land agreed to it, but it turns out he didn't actually bet on it the way that they should have. Kayla does end up qualifying, and she ends up qualifying the best in the history of the kingdom. She came super close to finishing. Many people don't even finish these races because they're so dangerous. When she qualifies towards the end, the Lord looks to potentially renege on the entire deal, but some of the officials were there, and they made sure that it went through the way that it was kind of written and signed off on. So both Kayla and Maul are free. And then they get sponsored by this guy who wants to take them on to a team. So they go out, they go training. She meets her teammates that are going to be part of the official race after qualifying. And a lot of what I read was the actual race that took place. So sure enough, we're at the race. It looks extraordinarily dangerous. They're going to be going up some hillside of a volcano. And all the other racers there look like this is what they've been training for their entire lives. So if you wanted to equate this to like the Hunger Games, this is at the stage where she's fighting off a whole bunch of these like District 1 people that train their whole lives. To be selected is a huge honor, and like they dedicated themselves to this. Whereas you get further down the district, it's like, oh my gosh, I just picked the reverse lottery of like, I am going to die and just be the fodder. And so Kayla is thrown into this mix, and maybe she's a little naive in thinking that it's going to be as easy as it's going to be, but it's a completely different tone shift as she enters versus everyone else in the race. And so sure enough, the race starts, and it's a similar race style to how it was before. We have these riders on all these different mythical animals, and the path and trail is extraordinarily dangerous. So we got volcanoes, we got like underwater sections, we got, places where a bunch of the environment is like shifting and falling and erupting, and so they have to work their way through this different kind of like obstacle course, if you will. And as they're going through the course, teammates are getting picked off left, right, and center. And it's just her and her 3 teammates and just a couple of folks left. Well, it gets to a point where some of these other people are trapped, and Kayla, rather than continuing forward, goes back to try to help these people out. She's like, I think I could save them. It's like, well, if you save them, like, you could potentially miss out on qualifying into the next round. But she goes back anyways, and she does save them, and those racers couldn't care less and are like, thanks, now I just have an advantage to hopefully potentially be able to qualify in the end. And so they all race towards the very end. At the very end finish line, the top three go through, and then sure enough, it is all of Kayla's team that goes through, the other two racers, but she comes in fourth. But it actually doesn't matter because it depends on how the team does cumulatively, and they all are the ones that end up advancing. So Kayla and her team end up moving forward, which is cool. So I broke it off right there. I don't know how much further we're going to get into the next round, just looking at how much book that I have left. Maybe it's like 20 to 30 different pages. So we'll have to see how that all goes, but I'm enjoying it. I do kind of rank it at a 4 right now. It is on the kiddier style, as the depth at which that we're going, and it's kind of lighthearted, not super gritty by any stretch of the imagination, but still it's an enjoyable read. And every time I come around to it, I'm like, you know what, this is a pretty neat story, but it's very classical and typical hero's journey type of storytelling, so keep that in mind. So let's flip through the artwork real quick so you can take a look at that. For Kingdom Riders, here we are at the actual race as everyone's at the start line and they get ready to go. Everyone's basically kind of like looking at like, what the hell is Kayla doing here with her like frog that is her racer, and everyone else has like these coyotes and these bats and these lions and bears and crocodiles and stuff, but they're racing through, and it's literally through a volcano. So that ends up being kind of like the most dangerous part throughout this trek. And then towards the end here is where she's able to get ahead, and everyone crosses the finish line, and they're all thrilled about it. So we'll see here where everything else ends up going. But look, I don't have much more to go before it ends up being finished up, like 20 or so pages. So I can't imagine I get completely to the end here, but I'd be interested to see like what kind of cliffhanger it ends up leaving off on. So that's Kingdom Riders. Again, League doesn't have a score on it, but right now I'm at about a 4. So the next book here is going to be Batman and Robin issue number 22. So this one, I gave it a 4. League gave it a 4.0.
Nailed it. I know. Thank you. Moving on.
And for this one, we're kind of getting into kind of mythical territory, if you will. It's like things are getting kind of weird with what's going on with Batman and his way of tracking down Memento. So the story thus far, Memento is out there. It's basically a continuation of this whole Memento storyline that we got going here. Robin's been captured or taken, and Batman is working with Detective Catherine, who is from the UK. Batman, years ago, when he was trained to be a detective, he went overseas and he wanted to learn from the best detective in the world. And it was this guy in the UK, and he was interning, if you will, for the class. And then Catherine was there as well. And this is when the Memento killer last showed up. Apparently the whole thing was blamed and set up that it was the actual professor who was Memento. They locked him up in some sort of, kind of nut house, and he died there. And so now the Memento killings are happening again, and Catherine has come over from the UK, and all this craziness is happening as well. Robin was volunteering at a hospital. There was an attack there. Batman shows up. Robin's missing. So now we need to figure out where Memento is going to strike next. Catherine and Batman are now working together. So it basically catches you up. Catherine and Batman trying to figure out, what could potentially happen next, but then Catherine reveals that she can tell that Batman is that kid from way back in the day who was dealing with or working under the professor. So she knows, but he was using an alias. So she doesn't know it's Bruce Wayne, but she knows like, hey, you're that same guy who it was previously. So that's kind of interesting. And, I won't see how it shakes out because I don't have anything further than this, but I feel like that would have been a kind of a cool dynamic to continue to explore. But Batman is basically like, hey, we are constantly one step behind. I know someone who's going to be able to really let us know like the origin of Memento. So they go and they check out this guy. I guess he's half human and like he has this other half like dark side. It almost reminds me of like kind of Constantine, who's like, you know, kind of part not vampire, but part like werewolf. And so sure enough, they meet this guy. Catherine's like kind of freaked out by it, but Batman's like, hey, this is the guy we need to talk to. And sure enough, they open this mirror and like the guy, like his demon side basically shows up and he's like, I can show you, but and then like sucks them into the mirror. You have to come into my realm. And we basically get the history of Memento, of like this mythical kind of being or creature that's been around since like way back in like Industrial Revolution in the UK, and was summoned by these two kids. So that's like kind of his origins. Don't get much more detail than that, but at least we have that origin of who he is. So that's part of the comic. The other part is Batman in the previous issue hired a whole bunch of street kids to try to help out, and it's like, let us know what is actually going on and go places where nobody would go. So the kids end up going into the Gotham subway system, and then they go like underground, which leads into this whole ruined area underneath Gotham. So they go and they explore that, and then sure enough, that's where they run into Memento with Robin as well. And Memento attacks Robin in particular, bites him on the neck almost like a vampire, and then he starts attacking those kids, and that's the cliffhanger that we're left off on. So we'll see what happens, or, you know, I say that and it's like I won't know, but it felt like this was just more building and exposition than actually advancing the story, because Catherine and Batman don't seem any closer to being able to stop Memento at this point. But I was enjoying it, so I almost wish that I would have kept going. So let's go ahead, show off some of the artwork here so you can take a look as to what I'm talking about. The other thing too is come to discover that the grave of where that professor is supposed to be is totally empty. So it's like, is he alive? Is he some sort of zombie? Don't really know. So here's where the kids are kind of exploring that underworld. This is where Catherine and Batman are going to that crazy guy where he has the split personality and takes them into this kind of demon realm where they're able to learn a little bit about who Memento is and his origins. And then at the end here with the kids, where Robin is attacked. I think that happens up here further. And then Memento starts going after those kids here too. So that's where the attack takes place. And then Memento now attacking the kids. So yeah, good issue. Is it a good one to jump into? I think you're going to be better off at 21, maybe even 20. I want to say this is a part 3 of... Yeah, part 3. So you're going to want to jump in at issue number 20 if you can find it rather than 22. But still, you'd be fine here. It catches you up and you kind of get the gist of what's happening. So if you see this on the shelf, you'd be fine. This one came out back in June of this year. So yeah, Batman and Robin issue number 22. I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 4 as well. Next up here, we have Saga, issue number 39. So we got our continuation of everything that is happening with Marco, Alana, and crew. I gave it a 4.5. Lee gave it a 4.5 as well.
Nailed it. I know. Thank you. Moving on.
And so for this part of the story, we are now at the point where Marco, Alana, everyone, Hazel, their daughter, they're on the spaceship. Spaceship was trying to head back to go to Prince Robot's son. They weren't going to make it. There was an issue with the ship. It needed to refuel. They end up on this comet. This comet is like having this huge civil war as well. They think they're going to refuel for a couple hours, maybe a day max. They end up getting marooned there for 6 months. So 6 months, they're all there. And you have like these Marmot people that have been hanging out with the whole crew, and they become really friendly with them. But while there, Prince Robot's getting very agitated. He's like, screw it, I want to go home. I know that there is a robot base here from years and years ago. Let's just check there and see if they have any fuel. Part of the crew is this ghost babysitter. She's like, screw it, I got nothing better to do. I'll go out and scout for you and just let you know. So that way you don't have to risk going out into the open where this war is taking place. She shows up there. There's a freelancer there who's basically like a bounty hunter. And it's a new one that we've been introduced to. And he has a weapon that can attack these ghosts. So sure enough, the freelancer's trying to chase down Marco, Alana, and Hazel, and can tell that she's lying, and they capture her, and they end up killing her. She's a ghost, right? So she's like dead now. And Hazel can feel it too. So that was last issue. Now we start this issue, and Ghost is gone. And so Hazel's like really freaking out and worried about it. What one of the crew members decides to do is like one of the refugees, that's one of Marco's species. She's like, I'm going to go out and hunt out the ghost for you. Really, I have nothing better to do. So she goes and decides to do that. Hazel has a really deep conversation with like one of the Marmot people of like death and like what happens after it. And so that's like kind of a dark conversation that they end up having. The freelancer that's on the comet ends up going to the robot base that Prince Robot was talking about. And he sees that there was like some sort of shootout, and he's having a conversation with this robot that's like dying and bleeding out. And he's basically like, yeah, they say that they're coming. And then the freelancer's like, who's coming? It's like, our people are coming. So there's like some sort of, they're either going to blow up the comet or they're going to invade. Something major is about to happen. So we'll see what takes place there. And then the final thing that happens in this issue, the Will, who is a freelancer, who's like kind of the OG characters from early on, who was chasing down Hazel, Marco, and Alana. He was finally kicked out of the guild, basically for inactive duty, and his contract's basically been terminated. So that is what has happened thus far. Let's see if I can get to an okay point here, because we all know how Saga can be with the nudity, so just got to be careful there. So here's where Hazel and the Marmot are having their conversation. Looks like she's got a little boyfriend there as well. Here's where the robot shootout took place, and basically announces that like, yeah, they are coming for the comet at the end here. And then I think earlier on is where, yeah, the Will was kicked out. But unfortunately, I cannot show that piece. So it is what it is. So yeah, that's Saga, issue number 39. Again, the shock value on this has just been awesome. The artwork continues to be excellent, and I just love everything that Saga does. You know, it's won multiple Eisners for many, many years, so it continues to be excellent, and then just looking forward to getting to the next one. So again, Saga, issue number 39, I gave it a 4.5. League gave it a 4.5 as well. Then we continue here with We Call Them Giants. So this is a new one. Again, this is about the length of like 3 comics. It's 104 books. So if each comic is like 32 pages, right? You multiply that by 3, you basically get to the point of 3 comic books. So I read through the first third, and at this point, I'd say it's probably reading between a 3.5 and a 4. League gave it a 4. I can see it getting up to a 4 pretty easily here, but it kind of remains to be seen. So the gist of the story thus far through this book is we have Annette and we have Lori, and they're 2 kids. Lori is like our main character. She was adopted and seems like she had a pretty rough upbringing. And it's like the morning, I think, of her birthday that everyone in the world seems to have disappeared. And so she's like, man, of course, all these promises unfulfilled. They said I was going to get this, said I was going to get that. Doesn't happen. Now she can't find anyone. And then she runs into a classmate, Annette, and they're not even that close. Lori, you can tell, is like super emo, just down and out. That's the main character here on the cover. And Annette is like super positive of like, oh, I'm sure it's fine. Like, we'll be able to, my parents will be back and everything will be okay. And then days go by and months go by, and sure enough, nobody's coming back. They have zero idea what has happened. And now they're just like forced to just like scavenge for food. So we have a time lapse of a couple months, and it's Annette and Lori sticking together and doing whatever they can to survive. There's this group of boys that become a gang. They're called the Dogs, and basically they go out and will just harass and intimidate anyone who's like trying to take food or territory or anything along those lines. And Lori and Annette are certainly not part of that crew, so they have to be very careful. They run into this one guy trying to, get a can of just peaches, and like they almost get killed by doing that. But afterwards, they see this light that's like flashes as though it's like a shooting star. And they go and investigate it. And they see this huge giant, basically. And he looks almost, the best way to describe it is like, a destroyer from the Asgardian world. If you don't, like, look that up. I mean, you can obviously just look up the giants in this, and I'll do you kind of the same. But if you're familiar with kind of that Norse Asgardian, the Destroyer. That's basically kind of what they look like. So they're enormous, and Laurie and Annette aren't sure if they are friendly or if they are hostile. So they kind of hide up in the brushes. They see one giant, and they actually see another interact. So it's like, oh crap, there are multiple of them, and they see their enormous like spaceship as well. And so from there, they're like kind of enamored of like, we just needed to know, are they friendly or not? Because then they need to know, like, are they a threat or not? And it doesn't seem like they are at first. And so they see the dogs off in the distance, and they're like, oh crap, like we're going to get caught by them. So what we could potentially do is lure the dogs into the giants and see if the giants will do anything. And so sure enough, that's what they do. Then the dogs are there, the giant's on the other end, and the giant just kind of like looks at them and like doesn't really care and just walks away. But now the dogs are so enamored by the giant that they start attacking and like throwing stuff at the giant. And the way that the text describes it, because the visuals don't really show it, is as they're walking back, there's like all these fumes and gases and toxins that are leaking out of the spaceship, and some of these like kids are dying as they're like pursuing this giant as he heads back into his spaceship. And then Annette and Laurie are off to the side just like observing this whole thing just to see what all goes down so that they can instinctually basically react how they need to, whether it's run away, the giants are fine, what all's going to happen basically. It's just like morbid curiosity. And that's all I read. That's all I got to thus far. And again, that's about a third. So I could see pretty quickly how this turns into a 4 of like, we understand the why behind why are the giants here, what are they doing, what's all happening. I could also see that we actually never even get an answer, and it's just kind of a tease out there, and maybe there's some other moral thing that happens throughout the story too. Same author as the Power Fantasy, so I could see it unfolding in a pretty weird, bizarre way, but all revealing itself towards the end, as the Power Fantasy kind of did as well. But that being said, I am enjoying it and looking forward to just reading more, just so I can understand what all is happening here. So here, I should show off actually some of the beginning as well, just to give you a sense of the art. The art is good. It's more, how do I describe it? I guess kind of watercolor, but it's more like pencil drawing is the best way to describe it. Like it feels more like sketch than it does like comic book art in that sense, which is kind of cool. But then the color feels like more of like a water brush, water paint kind of fill in. So here is where they see that light come from the sky. And then Annette and Laurie are like, hey, we just got to check this thing out. So that's why they run into the giant for the first time. And yeah, it kind of looks like a little kind of big destroyer from Norse mythology. It's got some flames. It's like this highlight pink. And then they see it go back to its spaceship. They're kind of its little terminal back there. And then it interacts with another one, which is like green. And they seem to have some sort of form of communication and then just kind of walk off. They get spotted by the creature, but then they end up like running off. And then here's where the dogs interact and they lure it to them. But then that giant just turns around and just walks back. And so, yeah, we'll see what all kind of happens from there. And yeah, kind of interested. So we called them giants, the first third or so of the book. On pace for a 4, Lee gave it a 4. Then next up is Do a Powerbomb. So this is where both passions meet up for me between comics and pro wrestling. We are on issue number 5. I gave it a 4.5. Lee gave it a 4.8. Awesome book and story thus far that we have here. And this is potentially like an all-timer is what we're heading towards. So we have Lona. Lona's mother died in the ring, unfortunately. And she died from a move given by her opponent at the time, Cobra's son. We learned that Cobra's son is actually Lona's father, and that never revealed that her father was Cobra's son, because he was the heel, the bad guy that kind of wanted to protect her. Now Lona wants to wrestle. Nobody would train her. This necromancer comes into her life, says, I can resurrect your mother, but it's a tag team tournament that I'm having across the different universes. You need a partner. And so she goes to Cobra's son, not knowing that it's her father, and they come in and they start to wrestle. And so they go into this tournament and, they do the whole thing. They're slowly winning, slowly but surely gaining each other's trust. Never revealed that it is actually her father up to this point. And they come to find out that the wrestling in this universe is like real. There's nothing fake about it whatsoever. And the necromancer guy, he's been watching wrestling through like American TV and stuff, and he's just none the wiser that it's actually like fake. So they have these matches, they're hard hitting, they're facing like orangutans the first round, facing like these absolute warriors the next round, and then now they're setting up for a death match. And the reason that is in the last issue, one of their friends, or Loda's uncle, I should say, and it was his mother's sister or brother, so like the direct family member, was also in the tournament too, but he lost. And he lost, and afterwards was like this huge beatdown, and they had him hospitalized too. And so Cobra-san in particular is all pissed off. It's like the next match that we want is going to be a death match. And I didn't realize this at the time, but it's actually the final. So they go in and they have this death match. Really well done. But the thing is at the death match is at the very end is the mask of Cobra-san is ripped off. So Lona sees that is her father this whole time. It's like, oh, holy shit. Like she had no idea. Gets her distracted. She gets hit with a pinfall or gets knocked out. And then that's it. Lona and Cobra-san end up losing. And the other two win. But the backstory with the other two that they were facing from whatever universe that there were two individuals that both lost people in their lives. And now they were forced to be a tag team together. And it's like a classic wrestling trope too, which is hilarious. If you know wrestling, you're like, this is the can they coexist wrestling trope. And it's like usually WWE was really well known for this. You'd go into a pay-per-view and you'd have some random tag team that's beating up these two guys. And these two guys are actually the opponents in the main event of whatever the pay-per-view is coming up. So now they got to team up together to face this tag team, even though they're going to have a match in a week or two. That is the pay-per-view. So can they coexist as a team is always the running joke the commentary would say. And that's what you have here. So that team beat Lona, beat Cobra-san, but they both have their own vested interest, and they basically made a deal going into this tournament. Hey, whoever ends up winning, then you and I, we're just going to have a match, and then whoever wins out of that match, that's who gets to bring back their one person. Because you basically get just one wish from this necromancer to bring one person back. So that was the cliffhanger. So we'll see. It seems like it's not crap. They lost. It's over, but not quite yet. We'll have to see how it all unfolds. We still have 2 more issues after this as well. So again, with me giving it a 4.5 and Lee giving it a 4.8, that's a high score on 581 reviews. That's a lot. So definitely recommend just getting in trade. Obviously not a good time to jump into it at this point. Let's go ahead, show off some of the artwork for the death match here. Let's see. Here's where we get to it. We got a little bit backstory on the other team and the people that they're trying to bring back to life. A lot of the artwork itself is the match, which is a lot of action, great detail. I love how they draw the moves because it's like exactly how the moves would be done in wrestling, just exaggerated to like the nth degree. But at the end here, this is where it's revealed that it's her father. She sees it, gets completely distracted, gets whacked from behind, and that's what causes the loss, the 1, 2, 3. And they end up losing. But it's not completely over yet because these two are going to have to fight each other. So we'll all see how that ends up going. So yeah, awesome story, awesome book. Highly recommend it. Just go ahead and buy the trade. It's great from the artwork, great from the storytelling. And then for me personally, obviously, I do the wrestling podcast as well. Anything that's going to fuse both wrestling and comic books, I'm all in for it. So that's the Doer Powerbomb, issue number 5. I gave it a 4.5. Lee gave it a 4.8. Then from one killer book to the next, we're going to The Nice House on the Lake. This one is issue number 12. I gave it a 4.5. Lee gave it a 4.4. The ending was very, very good, but I could see people kind of being pissed off about it. So we'll talk about it a little bit. How do I catch you up on 12 issues of this thing? What we have here is a world that is completely destroyed. Walter is an alien, and his whole alien crew killed the entire planet in like the span of minutes. But what we find out is Walter was tasked with finding 10 people who are like the perfect representation of the human species. They're going to put them all into this pod and have them coexist. But none of these people knew this, right? They all knew that Walter was kind of weird growing up, and they all would share their different tales. But they all show up, and they think they're just going on vacation at some sort of lake house, hanging out. But they see all on social media, all this horrible stuff happening. And so they want to escape. But there's this huge force field. They realize that they can't die. And then they realize, like very early on in the first couple issues, that Walter was some sort of alien and he had something to do with this. So now Walter is trying to find ways to, how do I correct this? So he has the power to like remove people's memories. So he removes their memories, and now he's like inserted as like part of the people or of the crew. They have no idea how they got there. They have no idea that the outside world is completely destroyed. So now they're like trying to hang out together. But the problem is that they keep trying to escape, and they keep trying to escape because they're none the wiser that the world is completely destroyed out there. And now we get to the point where they just again discovered that they can't die. There are guns in the house. They start like shooting each other. But we got one character in particular, Nora. Nora is like separated from the rest of the crew, and she's like working with Walter and seeing like, how can we actually figure this out together? Nora tricks this other character, Ryan, into like saying, hey, Walter is making all this stuff up. He stole your memories from the first couple of issues. Now, like, come with me. We're going to sneak into like the quote unquote control room, and you're going to be able to like fix this. Sneaks in there, and she starts messing with the controls, and she removes the immortality almost unintentionally as one of the other characters gets shot. So now she's dead. Walter's like, unfortunately, like, I can't reverse this. Once she's dead, she's dead. I can do a whole bunch, but not that. And now the rest of the crew is like, we got to kill Walter. So they're all trying to find him at the control center. Walter then shows up, and this is like the finale here at this point. So Walter shows up, talks to that girl, Ryan, of like, hey, here's what happened. Unfortunately, there's nothing you could do. You basically got three choices here. One is you can just kill everyone, right? And just end it all, and it's just done. And there's nothing that would then happen, right? Two, you can just go ahead and kill everyone else, but like try to sustain the biome like for yourself. It's probably not going to work out super well, but you'll just have to, kind of live with that. And that's something that you could potentially do. Or the last thing is you team up with everyone kills me. You guys all try to keep the biome safe as much as possible. You'll probably be able to do it for quite a long time before his supervisors basically figure it out. So those are like really the three options. Everybody dies, they kill Walter, or she kills everyone, and she's the only one left. And so what they all do is they all show up, and they're all having a conversation, and they're like, we just need to put it to a vote. And so they put it to a vote outside of where Walter was. They go to Walter. He tries to plead his whole case again of why he did all this stuff. But really, in the end, they decide they just kill Walter. So that's what they do. They shoot him in the head. He's dead. But we come to find out he's not actually dead. So they go and they try to live and put everything behind them and live in this biome as best as they can. But Nora actually was the ringer this whole time. She's like, hey, like within a dream, here's how you actually do this. Is we all showed up. Now you need to remove our memories. You need to somehow trick me into getting you into this place of, now we get Ryan in there and is like messing with these controls. Someone unfortunately needs to get hurt. And then you need to convince us that we were the ones that made the decision to kill you. That's the only way we'll be okay with it. And Nora facilitated that entire idea. So that is what the crew decided to do. And Nora is the only one that knows that even still then they were manipulated and tricked in the end. So she's just the only one with like the cross to bear of like, knows all the information of what actually happened. And Walter's then on the outside saying, they think that they killed me. Now Nora's the only one that knows. Honestly, I just have to trust that she'll never tell them ever, and they'll just kind of live on and do their thing. And then I'll have to be good with just observing everything from the outside. So that's it. Crazy story, crazy ending. Just insane, trippy type of concept overall. I'll say with The Nice House on the Lake, 2 volumes. Highly recommend you just obviously start from the beginning. Don't read here, but just read both of them and just read them back to back. James Tynion is like a freaking madman genius from this to The Deviant to Exquisite Corpses to World Tree. All super trippy, dark things that you wouldn't expect. Horror to like borderline horror to like mystery, thriller. It's all excellent. So I love his writing style. I love the worlds that he and scenarios that he puts these different characters in. It's crazy stuff. So it's sad that this is over in this biome, if you will. But what's good is now we have the nice house by the sea. Because we find out in the end of this one, this isn't the only biome that's like they're out there. There are multiple that they did this in case, redundancies and one screws up or whatever. So now we'll read through the nice house on the sea, which is the current one. And it's like really like going through it right now. It's live. So looking forward to jumping into that as well. Now, the reason that I think some people might have given this lower is because it was kind of a cop-out of like, he's dead, but he's not actually dead. And so I wasn't sure how fans would feel about that. It's like, doesn't feel definitive, but at the same time, it does kind of make sense. And the other thing that I think that people would have been upset with is like, it's Inception within Inception. So we already thought that we got to the point of like, oh, Nora knew about everything of wiping the memories from before and setting up the controls. But now at the very end, we get this additional layer of like, oh, she also set up that everyone else needs to now decide to kill Walter so that everyone can like live with it. So I guess people were good with it. Again, 4.4, and I gave it a 4.5, which is cool. So yeah, that is the end of this one. Let's go ahead and show off some of the artwork here so you can see it. And I love it when the last issue is like the cover art for the trade. So that's what you have here. Is issue number 12 is the cover art for volume 2. A lot of this issue are like texts between Walter and his friends, and all of them like super happy that they're going to be a part of this and everything. So it's basically like kind of reminiscing on the last 11 issues and things like that. A lot of the story itself is like pretty quick of like, hey, you guys need to make this decision. What's the decision going to be? Walter pleading his case for like the millionth time. They make their decision to kill him. He's gone. And then Walter with the, kind of explanation of like, they're not actually dead. Here's where Nora was explaining like, hey, the way you have things set up right now, it's just not going to work unless they make the decision that they need to kill you. That's like the only way that everyone is going to be able to coexist and survive together. The thing we don't get the conclusion to here, though, each one of the issues started off and it looked like the whole biome was burning to the ground or burnt to the ground, and we don't get a resolution there. So there's still open-ended kind of pieces that we could fill in at a later volume, and we'll see if Nice House by the Sea explains any of that. So TBD there. Yeah, Nice House on the Lake, issue number 12. Again, I gave it a 4.5. Lee gave it a 4.4. If I go back here and see, for the overall for volume 2, it was a 4.5, and Lee gave it a 4.5 for the overall volume. So next up here is going to be Poison Ivy, issue number 9. This one, I gave it a 4.5. Lee gave it a 4.5 as well.
Nailed it. I know. Thank you. Moving on.
So we finally get to the point where Harley is introduced. It took 9 issues for that to happen. It almost feels like kind of that long, kind of drawn out little tease, similar to how Transformers was before we finally got to see Megatron. That was like, I want to say it was like 14 plus issues before you finally got to see Megatron, which is crazy. So same here. Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn are dating in this, and then you finally get to see her. So she shows up in Seattle. Poison Ivy is on this mission on trying to basically destroy this conglomerate that's been doing like some oil drilling and stuff. And Harley shows up out of the blue, and Poison Ivy is so happy to see her. They go on this nice little date together. Poison Ivy still has that virus, and she actually like gives Harley a little bit of the virus too, to just like see what it is that she's experiencing. And she basically goes on like some sort of acid trip, but it's Harley, right? So it's like, how crazy is it from her every normal day, quote unquote, like sober mind that is Harley Quinn. But they go on their date, they have a good time, and everything's cool. And Harley ends up deciding to go back to Gotham at the very end of the day. And Poison Ivy is obviously super disappointed. It's like, well, you just got here. She's like, well, I was hoping to convince you to come back to Gotham. And Poison Ivy's like, yeah, but I got something to do here. I can come back as soon as I'm done, but I need to finish stuff up here. And so Harley ends up being okay with it. So she heads back to Gotham, and I think, Poison Ivy will just do what she needs to do here. And maybe by the end of this volume, then we go back to Gotham in volume number 3, would be my guess. So we'll have to see. But it's a fun issue. You get the date, you get the two of them rolling around a little bit, and then, start having those hard conversations with one another. So here's where Harley is. Of course, start hooking up as they haven't seen each other for quite a while. They go on their little trippy little acid date, the two of them kind of catching up and stuff, which is good. And then kind of the heart-to-heart towards the end of like, hey, what are you going to do? What am I going to do? And they decide, all right, call it a break. You do what you need to do, and then I'll do what I need to do. So, yeah, that's the end there. Fun little story. I've been enjoying it. The artwork's outstanding from the detail constantly. Even in this one, though, it was more narrative-driven. I think the artwork did a really excellent job as well. So that's Poison Ivy issue number 9. I gave it a 4.5. League gave it a 4.5 as well. Then we get to Fables 152. So I'm obviously jumping into this book crazy late, but it was a hardcover. This is, I think, in the period of just buying books just for the sake of buying books. I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 4 as well.
Nailed it. I know. Thank you. Moving on.
I'll say this one, it's just like super confusing because I'm like just catching up on all this. But from what I understand, it's like basically fables and fairy tales and stories, but it has some sort of different like kind of ending and different stakes to it. So for example, like Geppetto is in this. I think you have the werewolves, but it's like from, the big bad wolf with the 3 little pigs. It seems like it's those wolves. Then you have Jack and the Green, who I think is really just a reference to like Peter Pan. Or not Peter Pan, to Robin Hood. So we'll have to see how it all unfolds. But in this issue, you got basically 3 different things that are happening. One is Jack and the Green, who is this girl now. She's has the title. And the older Jack and the Green is like, what the hell? That can't be the case. And this is my land, and I'm the Jack and Green. I'm going to stay here. And the new one's like, well, I won the title fair and square, which was from issues previously. And I'm staying here, but you can live with me and I'll learn from you, and that's totally fine. So they coexist a little bit, but there's a little bit of like teasing and joshing back and forth. So that's one piece that happens. The next thing, this woman is like resurrected from some sort of charm, and she wakes up in this morgue, and she needs like this surgery to remove the charm that's like literally embedded within her body before it decays and she dies. So that happens. And then the next big thing is Geppetto, right, from Pinocchio. He wants to take over some sort of fairy tale world because it's all in chaos, because it seemed to explode underneath New York City. He's like, now is the perfect time. While there's chaos, there's power to be consolidated. But Geppetto apparently reports to some guy, and this guy that he reports to is like, screw that, you owe me a favor. And so what he does is he like sucks Geppetto's like soul and puts him into this like tiny little stone. And he has the stone there, and he like consults someone, is like, how long will he be trapped here? He's like, roughly hundreds of years. And so he just takes the stone and he just tosses it. So I don't know what kind of power Geppetto had previously, but he was looking to regain it. Not going to be the case. And then the werewolves that were reclaiming their land, they built like a nice little shelter, and it looks like they're there to stay. So that's the story. I mean, it's like kind of crazy nonsense right now, but I'm interested to see where it all kind of ends up going. Let's see if I get to the second issue here. So here's where you have that lady where they're trying to do some surgery on her. Got the Jack and the Green having their conversation and trying to figure everything out here. Then the whole Geppetto conversations where he's like trying to take things over. Here's the guy that he actually reports to, and they're having their conversation, sucks him into this tiny little pebble here and just basically tosses it onto the ground. And then the last thing are these werewolves that are having setting up this shelter in this like log cabin, and they're just like frolicking around. So we'll see what happens there. Feels like we're just building towards something and nothing concrete yet, so we'll see. Artwork is really doing a lot of the work here. I'd say the storytelling is more of like a 3.5, but the artwork is bringing it up to a 4 for me personally. We'll see how the next one goes. If it's kind of more of the same and I still have zero idea where it's going, I think I'm going to downgrade it to a 3.5 personally. So TBD. That's Fables 152. Then we get to Helen of Wyndhorn. Incredible book. This is the end to it. I feel super sad about it because I don't want this to end, but kind of is what it is. So this book, I gave it a 4.5. Lee gave it a 4.5 as well.
Nailed it. I know. Thank you. Moving on.
And for this issue, it's a really nice ending that we have here. So if you'll recall, Helen was with Barnabas, got hurt. After she got hurt, she healed up, but Barnabas didn't want to risk taking her into the fantasy world anymore. Helen got super pissed off about it and killed basically this troll that gives them their entryway into it. Barnabas was like, I can't believe that you did this. Now I got to go through this whole big, side quest in order to reset up a connection. And as he's about to head out, the governess of the house goes and chases after him. This big sea monster attacks. And she basically gets through to him of like, you do this, like you're going to lose Helen the way that you lost your son. And so she decides to turn around, goes back to Helen. So now in this issue, we start off, it's Helen and Barnabas at sea, grandfather, granddaughter, and they're heading out. And they're going this long way to reestablish this connection. And we don't really know where they're going. And gets to the point where they go into this little cove or this cave. Grandfather sees her grandmother, who's some sort of goddess in this realm. He kisses her and sets this like bond or whatever. And they go and they dive into the water. Helen's never been swimming before. Says that her father is terrified of the water. Grandfather's like, you'll be fine. Just go ahead and jump in. And sure enough, she does. And she does, and she keeps swimming. And she realizes she can breathe underwater. So she suddenly understands that she has all these powers. And now she's thinking back to what her father used to say. And it seems like her mother is like some sort of mer woman who lives down underwater. So they go deep down, all the way to the bottom of like this cavernous depth where it seems like they were climbing downward. She said it could have been days, it could have been months. That's how long that they were climbing down. Finally get to the bottom, and the grandfather starts to talk to her, and it's like, hey, I never really talked about your father much, and especially about your mother. But once she died, this is the last time that we were down here. And so sure enough, they go to the grave of her mother, who's down there, and she's part mer woman is what they basically find out. So they come back into the real world, and it goes to a place where Helen is like having her lessons and things, and she's just trying to figure out who she is. And at the very end of the book, it has Barnabas who comes back to Helen and like says like, hey, these two factions are fighting each other. It's going to leave this one fortress exposed. They have a whole bunch of treasure. Will you do me the honor of accompanying me? And so Helen, of course, is like ecstatic, and they decide to go out on adventuring. And it seems that their bond has been healed, and they'll kind of continue to go on these adventures. Incredible stuff. So I didn't give you the full synopsis on everything that happened in probably the first 3 issues. So if you want to listen to that, listen to some previous episodes. But I can't recommend this book enough. It is so good. It won an Eisner, nominated for multiple. It's incredible. So it's a Tom King joint. Art's outstanding from a very like high fantasy, Knights of the Round Table level of fantasy, with the detail to boot. So Helen of Wyndhorn, such awesome stuff. Let's go ahead and show off some of that artwork so you can see it. I almost like wish they would just do another one, So we got the start here as they go through this journey. I mean, just look at the detail on just this sailboat as they're out on sea. It's just incredible stuff. So here is, they're taking that long route. They go into the cove. Then they start heading down. This is after the kiss. And then sure enough, they're attacked. But Barnabas is like, hey, this is Wyndhorn. Helen of Wyndhorn. She is, the princess heir. They get down to that throne room where her mother is deceased. Come back up, and they start talking a little bit. And this is really where they start to rebuild their relationship. Back in Wyndhorn, having those conversations about who she is, and then Barnabas at the end showing up and is basically like, hey, will you accompany me on this adventure. And then meanwhile, this has all just been like an interview that the governess has been having, and just passing on these stories. So like, are they real? Are they not? It's basically been the conversation. And then since I'm flipped to it, take a look at some of the cover artwork, like from the variants as well. Like just incredible stuff. So the art has just been second to none, really. So yeah, that's Helen of Wyndhorn. I love this book. It's an all-timer for sure. Couldn't recommend it more. Obviously, issue number 6 is not going to be the one to jump into. Just go ahead, get the hardcover, start reading, and enjoy. So overall, the book itself, damn near 5, but it's not quite, if I'm just being real. I would give it a 4.5. Let's see, what did Lee give it? Lee gave it a 4.6. Yeah. Good stuff. And then we get to our final book here, which is going to be Dragon Age, Wraiths of Tenever. No rating on League, and I love doing these because it's like just my opinion, which is cool, and you're not really going to be able to find it anywhere else. So this says it has 9 issues in it, but it doesn't do a good job of like breaking off what it actually is. So it is what it is. So maybe I read through issue number 2 and 3 for today, called Deception. But yeah, the story thus far is we have 2 con artists who are trying to, get by. They get caught. And when they get caught, one of the older con artists runs into an old party mate of hers, and he's like, hey, I'll either turn you in right now or you come and you join this heist that we're trying to pull. And what they need to do is they need to steal these plans. So the 2 con artists, they come up with a plan of like, okay, we can sneak into this vault by you, the younger con artist. You've been living off of this last name. We're going to pretend that you are who you've been claiming to be, and we're going to be able to kind of bypass the papers by creating some distraction outside. So they hire some thieves or just kind of unsavory folks to do the distraction, but they're like, hey, don't kill anyone when you do it. And sure enough, the 2 con artists, they sneak in. It's the first time that they're working together. The younger con artist is like brand new to this. The older one, very experienced, who's like knows what she's doing. So they make their way in and they make their way out. But the original 2 people that they conned, one was a brother and a sister. The brother's pissed off about it and he wants revenge. And he knows that they're going to go after the vault. So the job's done where they have the plans that they need. And so the other 2 that were said, like, don't kill, they're like, well, our side of the deal is done. And they go ahead and they kill the brother. So the brother's dead. And now the sister is like extraordinarily distraught and ticked off. And now she's going to go after them. So the plans was one thing. The plans basically give them an outline of this house that they need to steal this magical orb from. So all of them as a party go and try to steal from the house. As that happens, the city that they're in falls to a bunch of these orcs and are attacking. And the sister shows up as well, and she is trying to inform the person that lives there, which is like this high mage, that your place is being robbed, because I know these people also killed my brother. Show up, the mage that was there is not even like a real mage, he's a fake. And they basically took over this house and have been pretending to live there because they thought that this crazy mage was doing all these crazy spells, and so people just kind of stayed away from the house. And they've actually just been like kind of held up there. So sure enough, the orcs, they invade, they get to the house as well. They start killing people off. The older con artist is like, you know what? I could talk to a little bit of like this orcish thing. I can allow you guys to run off and have a fighting chance to escape the city. And she sacrifices herself, basically pretending to be the high mage. They end up killing her anyways. The rest of the party gets out with the magical orb too, along with the sister. And they all get to the edge of town. The town completely falls. And then the sister's like, I don't know what to do anymore. My brother's gone. The town is lost. So, I don't have a home to go to anymore. And then the younger con artist is like, hey, you can just join up with us and we'll try to figure out what all we're going to do next. And that's the story. So kind of interesting. I have zero context to the world of Dragon Age. There's multiple video games. I maybe played 15 minutes of Dragon Age Inquisition, not even through the full intro. But the book was on a fire sale. It was like 90% off. So that is why I ended up picking it up in the first place. So show off some of the artwork here so you can take a look at it. Pretty standard comic book look to it. Obviously everything is like, kind of olden time, medieval, fantasy type of setting as Dragon Age is set. and it's good. I mean, it's not incredible. I'd probably put it at a 4 thus far. Here's where they're trying to sneak in order to get some of those plans. When they're able, this is where the brother, unfortunately, is killed. They're doing some celebrating before they attack the mage's house. They get in there with the mage, who turns out to be the fake. And then the orcs end up attacking, and that's where they're in there as well. And then here's finally where she goes and sacrifices herself, allowing everyone to leave. They're on the edge of town. He's like, hey, you can just come and join us. And the other con artist, ends up taking the last name of the older con artist who sacrificed herself. So yeah, it's a cool story. That's Dragon Age. Race of Tenever. I'll be reading the second part, which is Blue Wraith. And then the third part is called Dark Fortress. So it's 9 issues in total, 3 stories each, 3 issues each. So yeah, the first part I'd say would be a 4 overall. So yeah, that's it. That's a show. That is 10 books, folks. Let's go ahead and recap so you guys know what we just did. And in case you forgot and was like, what was that one he was talking about? So this first one was Kingdom Riders, where Kayla and team have won the race. So we'll see what's up for them next. We got Batman and Robin issue number 22, where Batman and Catherine now know Memento's background. And the kids have found both Robin and Memento underneath Gotham. We got Saga issue number 39. Looks like everyone's still kind of trapped onto the comet. The Will, he's been compromised, and the robots looks like they're going to come and attack the comet. We call them giants. We have Lori and Annette, some of the last humans on planet Earth. These giants have come to Earth, but they don't really know what they're about. Do a Powerbomb. Lona and Cobra Sun, they lose their death match, but it's not totally over yet because their opponents are now fighting each other. Nice House on the Lake issue number 12. The whole crew decides that they are going to kill off Walter, but it turns out he's still alive. And so we'll have to see what all happens for their biome, but that is the conclusion to that story. Poison Ivy issue number 9. Harley Quinn comes to visit Poison Ivy, invites her to come back to Gotham, but Poison Ivy has unfinished business. Fable 152, just really setting the groundwork here. Geppetto wanted to go after some power, but the guy who controls him says otherwise. Helen of Wyndhorn, issue number 6. Both Helen and her grandfather, Barnabas, they make amends and they continue to go on adventures together. What an incredible, incredible story. And then Dragon Age, Race of Tenever, the first 3 issues here. We have the con artist teaming up, one sacrificing themselves so the others can escape the city. And then they have one of the con victims who ends up joining the party in the end. So yeah, those are the 10 books that we reviewed for this issue. Appreciate you guys tuning in for it. Before we go ahead and close it out, let's flip over now to the polls for next week. Locked and loaded with a laughably small amount of books. It's just 3. That is it. So we have the Tin Can Society issue number 9, Ultimate Endgame issue number 1. Finally going to start up the kind of conclusion of the Ultimate Universe. Well, I was going to say in 2026, but it's the very end here. It's going to be Christmas Eve, or New Year's Eve when it technically comes out. And then the Ultimates issue number 19. So those are the 3 books. So we'll obviously go ahead and fill in the rest of the issue with a bunch of backlogs. A lot of backlogs were completed here. So from the Nice House on the Lake to Helen of Wyndhorn as well. Kingdom Riders, I'll probably finish that up. In the next one, Saga volume number 7 is coming close. We just finished off Batman and Robin. Do a Powerbomb is pretty close as well. So yeah, we're getting towards the end here, folks, but that's okay. I think I said March, but I think May is going to be more like the time frame of when all the backlogs are fully caught up, because we got a bunch of Poison Ivy, we got a bunch of Saga as well. Nice House on the by the Sea is not going to take too long. And then we have The Last Ronin, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So we have The Killing Joke as well. So some other stuff that's coming up later down the hopper, or down the line for folks that are kind of curious. So yeah, I think we will close it out. Thank you so very much for tuning in. Obviously, you can follow the show on the social media channels from the description below. And if you'd like to support monetarily, there's a link down there, buymeacoffee.com/Saturday Morning Review. All funds and proceeds would basically go towards buying some more books, which would be appreciated. So yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you guys have a wonderful, safe, and blessed holiday season, and I will see you guys in the next one.
Go, go, go,
This has been a DMW production. Thanks for stopping by.